also had several leadership positions at universities, and we need to learn her perspectives on her experiences. Lydia, can you take 5 minutes or so?
I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought that since we won't have Cynthia at this particular session, I might provide this perspective that I have as someone who sort of sits between the people you saw in the first panel and the people that you just heard from. I'm a little older than the folks in the second group and a little younger than the folks in the first. So I come from a very large Mexican American family, and Mexican Americans are the least or the most underrepresented Hispanic group in the country. And although we have, not all of us, some of us, I mean, one side of my family has been here since the conquistadores came, and the other side left Mexico when during the Mexican Revolution. So that's a slightly different flavor. I also grew up in a town, Santa Fe, New Mexico, where it was very hard to tell what the majority was. Hispanics, I was told that I had must have been in a segregated school, because if you look at the pictures of the classes, there are an awful lot of little brown kids there. And so that I think helped shape my experience, as did the fact that I am the eldest of 6 and the daughter of the first in his family to go to college. So all of those had an effect in my desire to do something and go on. So I resonated greatly with all of the thoughts that we've heard. I think that I'm someone who had a very auspicious beginning as a postdoctoral fellow and as a graduate student. I went to MIT and got there because of the help of Loretta Levy, one of the first women to run a laboratory at the NIH. And she is responsible for both my applying and getting into MIT. And so I was in this very remarkable position at MIT. And that led ultimately to my being moving into an administrative position. And I've often wondered, is that because, I mean, I do that well. I enjoy it. It was a wonderful job to be vice president of research at Northwestern. But a part of me has always wondered, well, what would have happened if I'd stayed in the lab? I had a great time in the lab. And some of those papers that I wrote 20, 30 years ago are still being cited in the current literature. So, and I wonder about that sometimes. Nevertheless, to be a vice president, a minority woman in the Midwest, in Northwestern, was an interesting experience, because there I commanded the respect of the faculty in part because of my previous science that had been done. So when you have the credentials, as Gilda pointed out, or as John exemplifies, and as all these people exemplify, then it's both harder for people to dismiss you and easier for you to take any such dismissals with a grain of salt, because you know your worth. And so that was helpful. It is nevertheless true that even though I accomplished a great deal as vice president, Northwestern had an inflection point in its research activity during that tenure. I, in fact, had fewer resources than have been given to subsequent vice presidents there. So it's still a mixed bag, but as Gilda has pointed out, either pathway, either any leadership position now allows us to be visible and to set an example so that more of you out there will consider various pathways that can make a difference in how many of us are out there. And I think that's where I'll leave it.